night
on a storm-ridden occasion.
Dark and gloomy evening in October.
So if you're listening live on Facebook, we don't know if that will continue, as we might have internet issues, obviously.
Because the storms.
It's a big storm.
We got the big storms outside.
But we're here nonetheless.
Yeah, we're here and we're happy. It is, again, my fault for postponing the podcast to not a Thursday night. I do apologize. Baseball and weddings, like those are important, got in the way of things. But that's okay. We're here now. And hopefully, even though it's late on a Sunday night, you can watch.
And we are live, and it has seemed to be working. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully that luck continues.
Yes, throughout the podcast.
As the storm goes on and on out of control.
Oh, now I know the song.
Crash, boom, bang.
Crash, boom,
deep
bang.
in a heart.
The thunder rolls.
So I always have, I love that song because I have you know how you have sometimes those weird off-the-wall memories from your childhood?
Yeah.
But they always stick with you?
Of course.
So when I was a kid, we used to go to Dale Howell Lake in Tennessee and rent a houseboat.
Yes.
And
poop knife.
Yeah. And we would go up on the top of this houseboat at night, like when we were kids.
Yeah.
And like play basically Garth Brooks.
Just all night.
That album, just play that. And we used to like sing that song so hard. And at the time, we would always go crash, boom, bang.
Oh, you
like,
did?
In the thunder part?
Yeah.
And we would always smack like the propane tank. There's a big like 100-gallon propane tank.
On the top?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
On the top. We always hit it. Boom, boom, boom.
It's a hell of a memory.
It is.
It's a core memory that you had of your childhood.
Core memory.
It really is.
Yeah.
But why did you only play Garth Brooks?
Yeah, it's probably all we had.
Yeah.
On the old tape deck.
On the old 8-track.
Yeah.
Do you remember 8-tracks?
I don't, no.
So
I know what they are, and I know what they look like, and I've seen them.
My dad had an 8-track player in an old truck of his, and he would play 8-tracks, and slide them in. You pop them in, and I thought they were the greatest thing in the world. We had cassette tapes too.
Wasn't it about the same time as cassette tapes? It
is. Well, they were earlier than cassette tapes.
But by the time you were experiencing them, I remember.
Yeah, they were
both had been out.
They were outdated. Yeah, like cassette tapes weren't outdated, but the 8-tracks definitely were. But he had a truck with a player in it, and he had a bunch of 8-tracks, and I just remember always playing the 8-tracks. I thought they were the coolest thing. I don't think cassettes were as good as 8-track. And the sound quality was actually better.
Really?
On an 8-track, yeah. That's proven.
That's a provable fact, sir.
It is an absolute fact, and I don't want you to say otherwise.
I think it would have been hilarious if none of that was ever invented and they had basically what were CD decks in your car, but that took entire vinyl albums.
You could put a vinyl in. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It'd have to be like...
Well, you could do the 45s, because 45s were smaller.
Yeah, so you could put 45s in there.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I would do that. Let's invent that. Let's make that.
Last year for Christmas, I got a record player, and I've been in some records.
Yeah.
So I've been playing some. It's enjoyable because I'm not one of these audiophile people that's like, it sounds better on vinyl.
Yeah.
But
with my tuned ear, I can tell.
Yeah, I think the difference is, and what's enjoyable about it, is that there's a certain amount of intention involved with picking that, putting it on, playing it, and then you're basically sitting down and listening to it.
Yeah. And
that intention kind of changes the dynamic between the music and yourself. So I don't think it has anything to do with audio quality or I think people just like it because it's cool, but it's also because there's like intention to it.
Yeah. I think it just really cuts to the core of you. Yeah. Brings out all of your emotion.
I was just thinking about it this morning over breakfast as I was playing Mothership from Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Some songs on Mothership.
Sure.
I'm like, I need to get this record. I bought it for my nephew last year for Christmas. Mm-hmm. It's expensive. It's like $80.
Is it really?
Yeah, but it's like 5 records,
right,
or more. It's like their greatest hits, and I was thinking I should probably get that.
Yeah, I would say you do. I've said it ever since you've gotten a player. What's it called? Record player. I wanted one.
A turntable,
if you will. I've wanted one so bad. And then I saw a bunch of stuff on TikTok of people playing records and changing it to 40, like the 45 speed, and it's obviously changes the pitch and tone of like the whole song.
I saw one the other day. They made somebody that I'd never heard of sound like Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton, yeah. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, they changed it to Dolly Parton, and I was like, holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is really fun, and a lot of my favorite bands have came out and made records again of, collections of their music. And I want them, but I don't have any reason right now to buy them because I don't have a record player.
No, and I'll say this. I don't think there's much reason to get one just for the fact of the amount of time you will use it is almost nothing.
Is minimal, yeah.
Because, I barely ever use it, and they're not cheap.
Yeah, I know. You're right. And I do usually have to talk myself out of buying unnecessary things because I want everything.
I think if you had a space, like if you had a man cave, or like a den, a study, perhaps.
Right. Which I'm gonna have something of that in the basement whenever I get around to that.
If you had that situation, it would make sense to put that in there.
And you could have the ambiance of having people over and playing a record in the corner and everybody looking at me in my smoking jacket with a pipe.
Oh yeah,
wouldn't that be awesome?
Get that pipe out.
Because I have multiple pipes.
Yeah,
for tobacco.
Tobacco use only.
Yes.
Real pipes.
And I smoke them in my house.
Me and Jerry used to sit in his garage. I used to go over to his house with the only intention of sitting in his garage and smoking pipes.
Yeah.
And
and when I lived in
that's a really bad way to put it.
Yeah, it is. But when I lived in the other house, when we were building our house that we live in now, we used to sit on the back deck. Remember that?
Yeah. I tell you what, there is very few things. It is the most contemplative experience.
It is.
It's great.
It sounds cliche to somebody sitting there thinking with a pipe, but it no joke is that.
It's super relaxing. It's awesome. I highly recommend it.
And
we
they
used to go to Danny Boy Pipe Shop at the Renaissance Fair.
And I follow them on Facebook. Yeah. They go all over the place, and they make some really nice pipes.
Yeah.
But they make so many different types of tobacco for pipes, like different flavors and styles and stuff, that it's endlessly enjoyable. Now, am I condoning tobacco use? Not necessarily. It is bad for you, but at the end of the day, come on, you got to live, and the way I want to live.
You're not inhaling it.
No, you really don't. Smelling tobacco pipe. I grew up with a neighbor that smoked a pipe all the time, he literally inhaled it and smoked it forever. And he'd always come over, walking around. Chuck was his name. And he'd walk around holding his pipe. Yeah, Chuck Liddell, the Iceman. And his teeth had a groove, he's still alive, have a groove in them to where he stuck his pipe, But he'd always come over, and every time he'd start scraping his pipe out and he'd repack it and start smoking it. And I remember that smell and thinking man, that man smells like the greatest thing I've ever smelt in my life, like heaven. I was what is this? It's just a highly addictive, drug. Yeah. But at the time, as a kid,
it reminds me of middle school.
Loved it.
Yeah. You smell pipe smoke from
who?
Our janitor.
He did smoke a pipe.
Yeah.
He doesn't anymore.
No.
I haven't seen that with him.
So anyway,
so that's Pipe Talk.
Yeah, Pipe Talk. Follow Danny Boy Pipes.
Absolutely.
We'll reach out. Maybe they'll sponsor us. That'd be great. Speaking of sponsorships, we mentioned this before, but pretty soon we're going to C2E2 in Chicago.
We are.
We are invited as journalists.
Press. We are the press.
So we're hoping to get some pretty cool interviews and stuff out of that. Tonight, what?
Hey, we posted a thing about I did on our social media about Hayden Christensen going into the Ahsoka show, and he's gonna, be Anakin Skywalker all over again, and he's gonna be there.
Ooh,
he's the biggest name that's there.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, that's huge.
And
I hate sand.
And
it gets everywhere.
I know, and I want to interview him and say those things.
It's coarse and it's itchy. I don't remember what he said.
I don't remember either.
It's coarse and it's irritating. It gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. I want to do those things.
Despite all the hate, I thought he was good in those movies. I think that they directed him to act in a certain way, and he did that.
Listen, over time, everything becomes enjoyable again. You know what I mean? Especially with an epic story like Star Wars, where it just keeps continued through our whole lives. It started before our lives and then just picked up when we were younger, and it just keeps going. And you have the ability to look back at things that you've seen before and be like, I don't know. Maybe I was a little too harsh on that because it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And then getting kids into it like we've done, getting our kids into it and rewatching the things and seeing their enjoyment of it because they don't have that tainted aspect of Star Wars like we did.
Right.
I don't know. It's fun, and I don't really think it's that bad either.
No.
I don't know how you can...
I mean, I never didn't enjoy the prequels. I enjoyed them when they came out.
I
watched them my whole life.
I always did, too. I've always loved them. And then I honestly, for the longest time, didn't know that there was a lot of hate for it until I got into, like, listening to podcasts and people talk about, like, our nerd culture that we love and hearing people, like, really shit on the prequels. And I was like, oh, why do people not like those again?
Yeah.
I understand they are a little bit over-engineered when it comes to CGI and whatnot, but I don't know. I like it.
Right. So tonight we're going to do, me and Jerry and Dude actually just got back from a Snarf Talk road trip.
A date.
A movie date.
Yes.
And we literally just went to see Dune.
Yeah, we just finished it about an hour ago.
The space epic by Denis Villeneuve.
Yes.
Based on a Frank Herbert novel, which is probably my favorite book of all time.
I say it is mine, definitely.
So we're totally going to get into a review of that in a little bit. We're going to do all the coverage from all the crazy stuff happening from DC Fandom that happened this week. And then we're going to talk about, after we talk about Dune, we're going to go over the top 20 movies to watch if you can't wait for Dune.
And I couldn't wait for Dune.
No.
I should have been watching these top 20 movies, I think.
And then, of course, we got some pretty good What You're Watchings that we'll finish up with. But I will say, Dune right now is available in theaters, but also for free on HBO Max.
HBO Max.
If you're not free, but I guess if you're a subscriber.
It really does. At the time of the press release that said they were going to do that and put Dune on HBO Max, or all of Warner Brothers titles were going to HBO Max, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was like, oh, cool. Now we'll actually be able to watch movies. But now that people are back in theaters and this movie legitimately came out on HBO Max, it kind of blows me away that they still went through with it and did it. I personally think that is a massive failure on Warner Brothers' part, and I think it should only have been released in theaters for the time being. Like, even if you wanted to release it
just for
on HBO Max, like a month or two later, do that. But I don't think it should have came out at the same time. This is a huge disservice to the movie, I believe. And I don't want people to... I don't want you to watch it on HBO Max. I'll just say it straight up. Don't go watch it on
Unless
your TV.
you're the kind of person that would never go see it in theater.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, if you're just not a theater goer, I guess. But if you appreciate movies the way Chris and I do, I would never watch this movie on TV for the first time. You need to go to the theater.
Yeah, we went and saw it in IMAX because Nolan basically suggested that we do so.
He forced us.
So we went and saw it in IMAX. So we'll get to our review of that in a little bit. Anything else you want to talk about before we do some news?
Let me think. Oh, if you zoom in on Chris's shirt, he is the most disheveled, like slumlord human being tonight. And I don't know where it occurred, but I've been laughing about it all evening because he came to my house. He looked perfectly clean, like he took care of himself. And then throughout the process of the night, nobody knows how it occurred, but he's got stains all over his shirt. He's got grease on his face, in his beard, all over his clothing. He looks just absolutely disheveled, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, make fun of him.
Oh, I forgot. We had a listener request.
Oh, okay. I know, and you haven't told me what it was.
Here it is. Question for the podcast.
Okay.
Is it okay to shower or bathe during a thunderstorm nowadays? Am I the only one that was told as a kid not to shower during a thunderstorm? Is this something I need to be telling my kids so they can also grow up believing that they will die of a lightning strike if they are in the shower during a storm? I must know. Please settle my debate on the podcast tonight.
That is a genius question. You are not the only one that grew up with that, because my mother used to
Of course.
yell at us all the time and rush us to take a shower before the storm started. But if the storm started, you were not bathing at night because she truly believed you could possibly die.
Yes.
And then when I got into high school, I quit listening to that baloney, and I would go take a shower, and she would be like upset with me and be like, "What are you trying to do? Are you trying to attract lightning?"
Yeah.
Like, Mom.
So I will say, I was told the same thing. I think it was just in the ether of our growing up. But 100% no, you should not shower or bathe during a lightning storm. Yes, you should be telling your kids not to do that.
What?
Of course. If there is a lightning
it has,
strike.
No. Everything in your house is grounded.
Listen.
There is no possible way it's going to run through just your water pipes and then jump to the water and shock you. You're standing in a fiberglass tub. It doesn't
it's
just
the water, right? So absolutely, you should not.
Oh,
but we're going to go
a
directly
joke.
to the CDC website, cdc.gov.
Okay.
Frequently asked questions. Is it safe to take a shower or bath during a lightning storm? No. Lightning can travel through plumbing. It's best to avoid all water during a lightning storm. Do not shower, bathe, wash dishes, or wash your hands.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's guidance from the CDC, and you're going to take that for, over the last year, we've had a lot of guidance from the CDC.
That I am going to take because it does make sense. Now,
it
will
doesn't.
it attract lightning? No. But if lightning were to strike near your home, as has happened in my house, and traveled through plumbing pipes, as has happened in my house, it caught the gas hose for the water heater was right next to the plumbing. We got struck by lightning on the barn. It traveled through our wiring. It arced across there, and it blew a hole in the gas line and lit a gigantic fire in our laundry room. So there is current traveling through that pipe.
It's because you're not properly grounded.
It doesn't matter.
It does.
Most people aren't.
I am.
Most people don't live in a brand new house.
That's very true.
So I would advise do not bathe or shower.
I just really don't. I still don't believe it to be a thing because if you are showering. Now bathing is a different thing. If you're sitting in a pool of water, that would make me a little nervous. But again, you're in a fiberglass tub.
Let's pick another one. Healthline.com.
But showering, the water droplets aren't connected. They're literally unconnected from each other by the time they hit your body. There's no electrical current in each droplet of water.
Healthline.com.
And it can't jump.
Is it safe to take a shower during a thunderstorm? No. It is unsafe to take baths as well. This is due to a risk of electrocution. The organization also says that lightning can travel through plumbing. If lightning strikes, a water pipe is electrified. The electricity can move along the pipe and cause electrocution. To date, it's unknown if anybody has ever died.
Right. There you go. They have no idea if anybody's ever died. There's no cases of people dying. It hasn't happened.
Experts recommend
ever.
waiting 30 minutes after you hear the last thunder before taking a shower or bath.
I think this is
everybody in the internet is in agreement.
I think this is an absolute joke.
So don't listen to Jerry.
I think it's a joke. Everybody that is listening to this podcast has, I guarantee you, showered during a thunderstorm, lightning storm.
I mean, during a rainstorm, yes, but during a lightning storm, no, I wouldn't do it.
I bet you they have. I bet you have.
If your house is struck, lightning tends to go through either wiring or plumbing. So that means anything that's plugged into the wall or connected to the outside wire. Listen, I've had 2 houses struck by lightning. 2.
I've had 1.
The first house, it went through my electricity and fried anything that was plugged into my house.
Yep, I had that happen as well.
And left burn marks at most outlets as well. And the second time, it caught half of my house on fire. So it's a thing.
Yes, lightning strikes are a thing. I just don't believe it will happen when you're taking a shower. I don't. I think you're fine. That's interesting. I didn't think it was going to go that way. I thought you would be on the same side as me.
Strikes as far as 50 or 100 feet from your house can be just as dangerous.
Well, there you go, listener. I guess you're not going to be taking showers or baths during lightning storms. And your kids won't be either. Because it's completely unsafe and it will kill you instantly.
Dirk says, I know a guy who knew a guy whose Uncle Larry died in the shower during lightning storm. See, right there.
See, that it has to be true then.
What about dropping a deuce during a storm? Now, I think you got sufficient distance away from the water.
And you're sitting on porcelain, ceramic, and plastic. No possible way.
Mark says he's taking a shower now. I love that you figured out a way to watch the podcast in
Yeah,
the shower.
and
It's a bit disturbing.
and comment. You must have a waterproof phone.
Yeah.
You know, one of them waterproof
Absolutely.
cases. That's what it is. Because I doubt you brought your computer in there.
I mean,
Unless he's bathing and has a little shelf that goes over the tub that he sits and chats with. Just sits in the
seems
tub
like a
and
great idea.
gets on chat rooms.
Dirk says only dangerous if your junk's hanging in the water.
Yeah. See, I don't have that. I don't have that problem. Water is plenty far away from me when I'm sitting on the old toity.
All right. So anyway, that's the answer to that question. Mixed, I guess, but if we're going by the CDC recommendations, the answer is no.
I tend to not listen to a lot of CDC recommendations.
Lightning can jump a long ways. Yeah.
It jumps from the sky.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it hit a barn way away from my house and set my house on fire.
It's
So
not jumping between water droplets to kill you.
there is enough water droplets close enough together in a stream, in a large stream of water, that is a ridiculous.
No,
thing
I
to
shoot
say.
mine up towards the ceiling
And
first.
let it rain down on
and
you?
let it come down. It literally hits the ceiling.
There's still
and then it
enough
just
touching.
rains. No, I don't believe
For
you.
you to just outwardly say, no, lightning can't jump
Well, I
between water droplets.
I don't think it can.
It can jump super far, lightning.
Could it jump the Empire State Building?
100 feet, it just said.
100 feet?
Yes.
It
Is there
said that?
100 feet between your water
Not
droplets?
mine. Yes. Actually, mine are, yeah. I don't think it can
It
jump
must
that
be the
far.
coldest shower in the world when you're getting a drop every 100 feet.
I love a good cold shower. Wakes you up.
good
Cold
for you.
showers are better for you.
Cold shock proteins,
It's a thing.
apparently.
A lot of MMA fighters do that.
Right.
I mean, and look at me.
Yeah. You kind of look like an MMA fighter.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Like the guy that brings the towel to the MMA fighter.
Yeah, and wipes the blood off his face.
His name is Earl.
No, it could still be Jerry.
Well, it could be Jerome.
Yeah.
Gerald.
Yes.
Hey, Gerald, get the towel over here.
I mean, that is my name.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Or you
Yes,
just
sir,
call
Mr. Liddell.
Just call me Ralph. Ralph, get the towel. Come on.
A shower, it is droplets. It's just small stream. Isn't droplets.
No, by the time it hits your body, it's droplets.
Oh,
There's
my
no
God.
way
Just
it's a
stop.
stream. I'm serious. It's not a stream.
If the plumbing pipe was
Even-
energized with electricity, it would certainly electrocute you if you're standing in a shower.
Nope.
That's just crazy.
Most shower heads are plastic.
What does that have to do
Oh
with
yeah, the
anything?
water's in the water's in the metal tube. I guess that's
And
true.
then you're standing in a little puddle that's touching a metal drain.
I don't know. There's just it's not like you hear it on the news very often.
No,
I just
it
don't.
only goes for journalists. Wants to keep it quiet.
Yeah, I think there's an underground society keeping quiet who's dying in showers from lightning strikes.
All right, let's do some news.
I have no.
You have nothing?
No, I mean this was on a whim, Chris.
All right. Well, anyway, DC Fandom.
It happened a couple weeks ago, right?
It did happen a couple weeks ago. Lots of stuff coming out of that. Like, for example.
Oh, they had a ton of trailers come out for new things like the Flash. They had the Flash
I forgot
trailer
about
that came
that one,
out.
actually. That one looked awesome.
I have been so skeptical for the Flash for a long time because it's been talked about for the last 5 or 6 years. Keeps getting new directors and being dropped here, dropped there. And I really thought DC was basically destroying the franchise for what they were doing. But it's finally came through. What's the actor's name? What's his name? Ezra Miller.
Miller? Yeah.
Ezra Miller. He's the main guy. He plays the Flash. And he was in Justice League and another Batman movie, I think, right?
No.
Or was it just Justice League?
Justice League and like a little bit in Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah. So he kind of spearheaded the whole thing, putting it together and making it go through. And he wrote a script. I don't know if that's the script they're using, though.
And then he beat a woman.
And then he beat a woman in an alley
So they postponed it
drunkenly.
by like 2 years.
Had to fix that issue, which is fine. Anyway, it's going to be real. It's a real thing because then they just posted the trailer for it, and it looks absolutely amazing. They're doing, obviously, the Flashpoint paradox where The Flash goes back in time, spins time backwards and goes and sees who kills his mom. And he also finds another Batman, other Batmans, like other people.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton was a Batman, and they definitely reveal that Michael Keaton's going to be in the movie, which we already knew. It's just when you see it in a trailer, it just gets me all, just rock. It really
hot
does.
And bothered.
Just hot and bothered. Seeing those big ass ears sticking up, and then at the end of the trailer, he like pulls a cover off something, but it's the Batmobile. The old school Batmobile from the 90 or 89 Batman, and I'm just all for it. I am absolutely all for it. I think it's really good. I also think Ezra Miller is a really good Flash.
I agree. Yeah. No, I think it'll be really good because it's going to completely reset everything that DC's done.
Yes. Which they need to do.
They definitely need to do that.
They need to do that real bad.
Before we go into the rest of the trailers, I forgot one piece of news that we definitely need to be talking about.
Okay.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. That guy had a rough week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't terrible, horrendous, sounding story. I don't know if anybody heard this, but they were filming on the set. I think everybody has heard this
of Rust,
a movie called Rust that he was one of the producers of, and also the star of. And apparently, in the filming of this or in rehearsals, I wasn't really clear. There was a live ammunition in one of the prop guns.
Yep.
And he aimed right at camera, and the cinematographer was killed, and the director was hit.
Yeah, was injured. She was shot in the face and killed, and then the other director was injured as well.
Chest, I think.
And huge tragedy. It reminds me of the only other time I know of that happened was The Crow.
Yeah,
Brandon Lee got shot by a live round as well. I didn't know it was a live round.
I don't know if they know for sure. They didn't know for a long time. I think maybe they have said now it was a live round.
Okay. To be honest, a blank round that you shoot, because all of these guns they have are real.
They're real.
They shoot real guns, and they shoot blank rounds, and it is a whole brass casing with just black powder in it. And that's all it is. So you shoot off the black powder. That's all that usually comes out. But if there is any sort of projectile of any sort in the barrel, it will be shot out.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure that those are taken care of. And honestly, the people that they need to be looking at hard is not Alec Baldwin, is the prop master and whoever was in charge of any of the handlings of those firearms.
I think there's a lot of crazy stuff, right? So I do think there's got to be some responsibility for the person that pulls the trigger to at least have the knowledge or the ability to check a gun before they fire it.
Yes, instead of just blindly trusting the person handing it to you.
Yeah.
I could understand that.
So apparently this set was a mess from day one, and there had been other accidental discharges previously.
Really?
I had heard that, but that's kind of in dispute. What isn't in dispute is that the armorer, so they have an armorer, that's the person that handles guns. It's a very specific checklist of things they have to do. Mm-hmm. The armorer has a rolling tray with the guns on them. They have to not leave those at any point. They get the gun prepared for the scene. They give it to the first assistant director. They hold it in front of them. They run a stick all the way through the barrel out the back so they can see there's a yellow thing on the end so they can see that. They show them all that. That is checked off. It is handed to the first assistant director and handed to the cast member. So it's a very specific thing.
Okay.
Apparently the armorer wasn't even there. There was just a cart of guns. And now you have to remember they're making a Western. So you have to use real ammunition in a revolver in a close-up scene so that you see bullets.
Yeah, well, they have dummy rounds, though, that you could put in there with a blank.
Yes, you should never have any. I should take that
Not
back.
real.
You should never have any live rounds, but they do have dummy rounds. Yeah. So that didn't happen. She wasn't there. The director, first assistant director, just walked up and grabbed a gun and gave it to him. But then there was also some weird things that were said by the cast that they actually weren't filming, and he made a joke, and he said, well, what if I just shoot you? And then he pulled the trigger, and it shot.
What?
Something along those lines. I don't know the details. I don't want to spread rumors. So there's lots of weird stuff going on.
Wow.
Now.
That's strange. I didn't know any of that stuff.
This is where we get into the conspiracy theory of it all. Are you aware of the conspiracy? Go ahead.
So, while Nolan Green said they were improperly made dummy rounds, improvised from live cartridges that had the powder charges removed. So, that's what it is.
Do you want to give any credence to conspiracy theories whatsoever, or do you want to just breeze by them?
Oh no, we could talk about it.
Okay, there is one flying around.
Yes. So she had a tweet about.
Okay, what backstory on this? This person that was killed, the cinematographer, her husband is a lawyer for one of the biggest law firms in D.C. that happens to represent both the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year, the lead attorney for the Clintons was indicted under federal law for possibly lying to the FBI. Okay. Earlier this year, supposedly, and I've seen a picture, doesn't mean it's real.
Right, I've seen it as well.
There's a tweet that she wrote on Twitter that said she basically had information that would lead directly to the arrest of the Clintons.
Yes.
Hillary and Bill Clinton.
I think she just put Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, I believe.
Yeah.
And now she's dead.
Right.
And there's a long line of dead people behind the Clintons.
There really is. At this point, I know it's conspiracy, and I don't want to. I don't want to lean into that.
I don't either, but I mean, it was a conspiracy theory that the virus leaked from a lab, and now it's the truth.
And it did. Yeah, there's that. That one is hard to deny because there are so many bodies associated with people that are tied to Hillary Clinton or the Clinton Foundation, both of them, whatever. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
And
it might not even be true. It might
not.
Fake
a lot of
tweet.
it could be.
It could be a fake thing that you see on social media.
That's the thing. A lot of it could be fake that I've read or seen. A lot of it could be. I don't fact check a lot of that stuff. I kind of just brush over it and be like, wow, that's weird.
I brushed over it. I didn't dig deep. I don't know anything about. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I really am not either.
Any of that's true. But anyway, it's a super sad story for everybody involved, and I don't know how that can possibly happen. I just don't.
I really don't either.
Understand how that can even happen. How you could even have. I mean.
Okay, so I know he's a Hollywood actor, and they don't necessarily. I guess I don't know for him. He's been anti-gun for a long time, like openly, publicly. So I doubt he's going to a shooting range on weekends. But at this point in his career, he's probably handled quite a few guns on sets, of movies that he's done, right?
Absolutely.
So, like you said, there is a little bit of issue there where you should kind of make sure everything's okay. I mean, if somebody handed me a gun.
I don't let my kids point Nerf guns at people.
Well, I know. I don't either. And
you don't point guns at people.
Well, I mean, if he's directed to do that, it's one thing. I don't know why you would ever aim it right at the camera.
Well, they were doing that shot. They were making
okay, set up the shot and get away from the camera.
Right. That's why I think if I was holding a real gun in my hand, there would be no chance, even if I was on a movie set or directed
that I'm going to sit in front of it,
that I would point it at a human being directly. Would it off to the right of them, left of them? Yeah. Now, I understand there's circumstances if you're running or doing something that you maybe can't help it.
But the shot needed to be right at the camera. Okay, that's fine. And the actor can know that it's going to be right at the camera. But at the end of the day, why are you sitting behind it? Why are you sitting directly in front of where he's going to shoot?
Yeah.
That's kind of a red flag.
Well, the other thing that's weird about it, too, is like this is a exact plot line, apparently, from the video game Hitman.
It is?
There is
I played all of Hitman.
There is
I don't remember
a portion of that game where you go onto a movie set and replace dummy rounds with live ammunition to carry out a hit. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either, but I did. I played all of those games.
Anyway, so Eric asked, have we talked about Saga? Not caught up on Snarf and Snarf things. Not caught up enough on Saga to really talk about it.
Well, what she's referencing is that they're making a new, Brian K. Vaughan's writing another.
Oh, really?
Book.
Okay.
She messaged us that, and
I must not have seen it.
I think we both commented, actually. Maybe not. I know I did, but yeah, Brian K. Vaughan's writing more issues of Saga. It's going to start, I think, next year.
Nolan said that what he said about the dumping ground thing, that was for The Crow.
Oh, for The Crow. Okay, I see.
I guess I always thought The Crow was there was something shrapnel in the barrel, and the blank blasted it out.
Maybe I know it all happened during the scene where he was standing on top of the table, and they're all shooting at him with multiple different weapons. So the investigation in that took a really long time because there were so many different guns firing at the same time.
Yeah.
All pointed at him. I mean, that's the thing when filming. You do kind of have to point it at the person. I mean, you can angle it away, but when you have 15 people shooting at you and you're standing on a table flailing around,
yeah,
it's kind of hard to aim away from somebody. But it was just one bullet, and it killed him. So that's crazy. It is crazy.
Anyway, DC Fandom. Other things that came out. Brand new Batman trailer. Have we talked about it?
I don't think we have. Not the final one. The final trailer came out recently.
If you haven't seen it and you're a fan, definitely check it out. I think it looks fantastic.
I've had my ups and downs with this.
I agree. Me too.
And I've been hyped for the movie for a long time. Then, a trailer or two came out, and I was like, okay, that looks good, but I don't know. And then I got kind of like down on it, where I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't know if it's going to be that good. I don't know if I like Robert Pattinson's voice. But this last trailer that came out erased all of that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks great. It looks dark.
I'm all in on this.
It looks comic booky. It looks everything that it needs to be.
It does. What I like the most from what I've seen so far, and I've said it forever, never believe the trailers, but I don't believe this trailer is like showing you something different than what's actually going to be in the movie. But the way they have the villains as like real people rather than like more comic booky, like Two-Face, like Two-Face is all scarred up, but he's a real guy. He's like a mob boss guy, and you can tell he's clearly a normal person or like, a maniac type guy, but still not, he doesn't have a discolored face. It's not burnt up. It's just scarred really bad on one side. And then the Riddler looks very normal because he is sitting at a bar in the beginning of the trailer, and he looks just like a normal human being. So I like that. I like the aspect of grounding it in like
realistic,
a more realistic type villain. Yeah. Even though I'm all for anything they want to do with Batman. I don't care what you give me with Batman. I'm going to watch it and I'm going to give you my money. But I just like the new take of a much more realistic type villain. Even like the Christopher Nolan type movies didn't do that.
No.
And the Joker it was a more realistic Joker, but he still was a comic book character.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I thought after watching it, I said that very well could be, and that's a high bar. I mean, Dark Knight's one of the best movies of all time.
It is.
But this movie looks really good.
It could be on par with that, for sure.
Other things that came out, DC Fandom, Harley Quinn Season 3. Are you a fan of the show?
I have never watched it. I honestly haven't. I should.
It's really good. It's a really good show. I have not caught up on all of it. I've kind of seen it here and there, but it's a really, really good, fun, funny show. If you're into that kind of thing. If you're not into it, then skip it. But Kaylee Cuoco is really good, and the whole
she
cast.
Is Harley Quinn.
She is
right?
Harley Quinn. Yeah.
Okay.
Black Adam with The Rock. What do you think about that?
That was a teaser. It's not an actual trailer. It's just a teaser of the. Is that what they call? Yeah, a featurette, because they go like behind the scenes a little bit. I thought it was really great. I had texted you after I watched it, and I was like, "Wow, that kind of like perked my interest a lot." I think the excuse me. I thought the not animation, but CGI was really good. I think The Rock looks really good as Black Adam, and I'm pretty interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked a little generic-y, but I think it has a potential.
Yes.
To be interesting. I don't think it's going to be necessarily my favorite thing ever, but it looked good enough.
I'm not putting it up there, at the top echelon of what DC movies can be, but it didn't I had nothing to talk about with Black Adam. Like, I didn't care about it. I didn't need it in my life. I don't know about the character at all, like none. So this is going to be an introduction for me to that. And my introduction I thought it looked pretty cool.
Next one, they had a trailer for Peacemaker, the new HBO Max series, right? Is it going to be an HBO Max series?
Yes.
With John Cena in the spinoff from the Suicide Squad. This is one that I've been confused by how they're even going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching the trailer, I'm really looking forward to it. I thought it looked like a lot of fun.
It does look like a lot of fun, and I'm on board with it. Another thing that I didn't know about the character, I know nothing about any backstory, but after seeing that trailer, it perked my interest for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Another trailer we had was for the new Arkham series game, Gotham Knights.
So the game itself is where you play as multiple different characters.
Yeah, I don't think Batman's in it. You play as Robin and Batgirl. And
I think there's like
characters.
a sliver of Batman in it.
Probably, I'm sure. I mean, you can't make a Batman game without Batman.
Oh, I know. And there are a lot of other characters. I think Robin, Batgirl, is there Red Hood?
There's probably Red Robin. There's probably all of those characters. Jason Todd's Red Hood.
There's a lot of them.
Nightwing's probably in it. I mean,
there is definitely Nightwing. And it's all dealing with the Court of Owls, though. The storyline looks like it's all about the Court of Owls.
And that's what I'm excited about. I mean, they're doing the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo run, the Court of Owls, which
the single greatest Batman run of all time.
It's up there, man, for sure.
It's my favorite.
For a long-running run, yeah. And it's new, too. That's what's crazy
I know. It literally
New
came
52
out.
52 would be maybe late 2010s.
I think it was 13 or 14.
Okay.
Something like that. It was right after Grady was born, I believe, is when I read it. I guess I don't know initially when it came out. It could have been a year or two before that, but I read it around like 12, 13, 14, something like that. And, man, blows me away for comic books. I'm glad they're doing something with it. They tried to do a little bit with it in the show Gotham, didn't they? But it really hasn't.
They did. Yeah, they did the Court of Owls storyline. It was good. Gotham was great. This looks more true to the book.
This looks much more true to the book, yes.
So I'm excited about it. The other trailer, I didn't watch the trailer, or if it was just announced. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
No, there's not a trailer. I didn't see a trailer.
So they just announced that was happening. I don't have any interest in that. But they're going to say it's a more mature sequel.
I hope so. I was just watching that movie again the other day, and just because it was on TV, I think Amy turned it on, and what a letdown.
I never made it through the movie because it wasn't good.
You never made it through the whole movie?
No, all the way? No.
Really?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was that bad at all.
I had a hard time with it, but that's fine. There were some other things announced. They're not on the list I have, but those must have been the biggest ones.
I thought it was pretty good. Shazam 2.
Shazam 2, they
threw out a featurette as well.
Featurette, yeah. That one I'm in for. I'm waiting for that.
I loved the first one. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the best things DC had put out in a long time. And it's, again, maybe this isn't on par with what Marvel's doing at all, and it's not necessarily some of the greatest stuff that you can watch. But for DC and what they've put out, that movie stood out to me above a lot of them because it was super fun. There was still action, and you get to see like superheroes doing superhero stuff. But I love the dynamic between like kids and adults in movies, and I think they did that really well. So hopefully they can continue that with the second movie.
Erica says, love Harley. I would say, yeah. So that Harley Quinn show, if you like that character, is probably the best portrayal of that character in anything video,
really,
that DC has done. And it's a comedy. And I just think they do a great job with the character. It's a great watch for something that you just want to flip on, and it's fun.
It's obviously on HBO Max now.
Yes, HBO Max.
Okay, I do have to check it out. I should look at some of that stuff because I haven't ever watched it.
So that's all I got for news, unless you got anything else.
I don't have anything.
Do you want to jump into our discussion on Dune?
Yeah, I think we do Dune
the
and
20
then
movies first.
I don't know what should be the right order of that.
What time we got?
We like 45 minutes.
Okay, let's do the 20 movies. That way, if somebody doesn't want spoilers, they can still hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a good idea.
So, as we mentioned earlier, we went to see Dune. We saw it in IMAX. We just got back from it. Literally came directly here. I mentioned earlier, it's my favorite book of all time, or one of my top 5 anyway. And Jerry's also a big fan of the book.
Right there with you, yep.
I've read several of the original of Frank Herbert's. I didn't read like his sons after. There's a lot of books.
I don't think anybody needs to. Everything I've ever read about, how to read Dune or like the what order you should read Dune in, things like that. Almost all of them leave out his kids' books. Yeah. I have seen complete runs where people are saying, okay, read all of Frank Herbert's and then get into his son's stuff, and this is how you read them.
I've not heard they're bad.
But they're just, it's just so distant from the original.
But there's 6, I think, original books by Frank Herbert.
I believe it is 6, yes.
So there's plenty to read. I just bought the whole box set. It's huge. I don't even know if I'll get through it. I think I only read the first 3.
So I just started the second book. I had never read anything but the first book of Dune. And that's why I started looking at like reading order, because I didn't know what was the second or third books.
Right.
But I got them on Kindle Cloud Reader, so I can read it basically anywhere.
So anyway, we're going to talk about review the movie. Got a lot to say about it.
Yes.
Before that, though, we're going to do we were going to do like a top 10 space type movie, but I didn't want to pin it down. I didn't want to water it down with sci-fi.
Ooh. Did you hear that thunder?
That's some thunder.
Yeah, good thing I'm not showering.
So I just looked up an article that was top 20 movies to watch if you can't wait for Dune. So I figured we could go through this list and kind of talk about some of these movies, whether they should be on it or not. And
it's not our list. So
not our list. So the order doesn't make a lot of sense. So here's the top 20. Or the order doesn't make a lot of difference, really. We're just talking about the movies.
Yeah, so these aren't ranked, right?
They're not ranked.
It's just saying, like, these are 20 movies that you need to watch before going to see Dune.
Okay.
Okay.
Number 1.
All right.
Chronicles of Riddick.
I've never seen it.
Unbelievable to me. I remember you telling me that. Absolutely love those movies.
You do?
I think there's 3 of them and an animated movie.
I've just never gotten into that.
So it all started with Pitch Black, which was this really low budget kind of sci-fi horror movie. And I always loved that movie. And it was a while before they made more of them. But I always loved that movie. And then they came back and made, I think, 2 more.
Yeah, I think there's 3 total.
Or maybe 3 more. I don't remember. A bunch more. Yeah. I thought all of them were spectacular. I loved them a lot. I like the animated movies. I was really into the Riddick stuff. Yeah,
I see that. And I wasn't. I never really heard you talk about it before either.
It's definitely like big budget sci-fi, but
not the first one, not Pitch Black.
Well, that was low budget, but I just mean like it was general audience sci-fi.
Okay.
But it does go deep, and it has a lot of like lore to it. The more you kind of get into it, I just think it's great. I think you would enjoy it. I think anybody can enjoy those movies, especially if you like that genre. So I do.
Well, and I do, obviously. So I should probably check it out.
I think that's it's not like Dune, really. It's more an action movie. It's more of an action movie, but
it's like Aliens, right? Is there aliens involved?
Yeah. Yes, there's aliens involved. It's a whole.
Why you look at me like that? I've never seen anything about it or played the games or none of it.
It's a whole nothing. Like, it's got a backstory.
All I know is that
it's epic.
He's got them goggles on. And that's the guy, like Vin Diesel, bald head, goggles guy. That's all I know.
Okay, well, you should definitely watch that movie.
Well, all
those
of them.
Movies, yes. Yeah. And I would agree with that. Number 2 on the list is Battle Beyond the Stars.
I don't know that movie.
I don't know it either. It's from 1980.
Sean Johnson said, "What?" Like question mark exclamation point. I'm pretty sure it was my Riddick thing.
Well,
sorry,
it doesn't make any sense. So we'll skip that one because neither of us know what it is. Next one is Stargate, 1994.
Oh yeah,
Roland Emmerich directed. Kurt Russell's in it. James Spader. I love Stargate.
I love Stargate as well.
And then it was a long-running series.
And I never watched the series.
Series was great too, but the
You
movie
watched the whole series?
I don't know if I watched all of it, but
Oh.
I definitely watched it like growing up. It was on all the time.
But I thought it was only on like Sci-Fi.
No, it was on TV. I remember watching it.
It was on like Prime
I
Television?
think it might have been on like WGN or something like that.
Maybe it was. I don't remember it being on that. I just remember seeing it on like reruns on the Sci-Fi Channel or USA.
I remember watching that like I watched Xena or watched Hercules.
Oh, maybe it probably was then.
And it might have been in reruns that I was watching it. That's possible. It was on cable first and then it was reruns.
Could have been.
I don't remember. I love the
But
movie though.
the movie.
Absolutely.
The original movie you got to watch. Everybody, I think
It might be dated now though. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but either way, if you enjoy space, sci-fi type movies, Stargate is an original in my book,
Yeah. So that's a good one. Next one on the list, John Carter.
That's another one I haven't seen.
You haven't seen John Carter?
No.
I've maintained, we've talked about it on the
I know.
show. I think that that movie was undersold. Like it's known as one of the biggest flops in history,
Yes.
and I don't think it's given any respect. But it's not a bad movie.
And you've said that a lot. You've told me that, and I've heard other people say the same thing. I believe Erica is one of them that has said she enjoyed it a lot. I need to go watch it.
It's confusing. It's complicated. It could have been part of a larger universe. It tried.
Well, it has a larger universe.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
mean, there's a lot of backstory there. There's a lot of material to pull from.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they did that.
So that's one of them. And I would say that also very epic space sci-fi. So that would be a good choice, similar to Dune. Next one on the list is Dune from 1984.
Dune. Oh, yeah.
The Sting movie. David Lynch.
The only reason you would need to watch the movie Dune before watching the new movie Dune
You should not.
is just to make fun of it.
It's cheesy.
It's just not very good.
I love it, but it's more.
We had this conversation in the ride back from the movie, and it's more of a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Where you grew up with that movie and you like it because of that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have a retelling of Dune, they literally tell the entire story of like the first book anyways in 2 hours. It's just not possible. Like the amount of story you got to chew through and just skip over
Yeah.
is really bad. I mean, it's not an ideal movie.
No.
Some people love it, but I don't know.
Next one on the list is based off of another one of my top 5 favorite book series of all time, and that's Ender's Game. The movie was made in 2013 with Harrison Ford. They tried to.
I saw that, and I don't remember anything about it.
It's not great, but it's not another huge flop, like a famous flop.
Yep.
Spent a bunch of money. Harrison Ford. It flopped hard. It wasn't a terrible movie. The book series is phenomenal.
You've read it?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Love those books forever. It's essentially a YA book series.
Yeah.
I read it. Probably started reading it in high school. There's many, many, many books, but I love them. They're some of my favorite books of all time. I would highly recommend people reading the books, despite them being a little more on the YA side. They're still very enjoyable by adults, similar to Hunger Games type thing, but with sci-fi more. And the movie, I didn't think the movie was terrible. They should have kept going with it. There's a lot more. That's the thing. Like Ender's Game is the first book, first movie, and very much like just a tiny opening crack of a door into a huge universe.
Yeah.
So there's
That's
so much
the problem
more
with
to
a
it.
lot of sci-fi movies. And when you have a lot of content behind the movies is that if the first movie doesn't do what you expect it to do, you get nothing else.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a flop, even if it's just mediocre or it just didn't have the turnout that the company thought it was going to, you just don't get any more of it. And it's really a shame because people miss out on so much good content, and you could be making really great movies if you put the right people in the right places for all of those all of the audience that was reading the books and do want something like that. I understand everything costs money, and if you aren't making it, a lot of things don't happen. But I feel like this happens more often than not with sci-fi type films.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Or fantasy type films, because there's just so much content for a lot of these, things. I don't know.
Next movie on the list is a Paul Verhoeven movie.
Okay.
What's it going to be?
I have no idea. I don't even know that name.
Yes.
Paul Verhoeven?
Yeah, he's the creator and director of RoboCop. Come on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Starship Troopers, a movie that I've watched very recently. I think we talked about it last year when I watched it.
We did.
Holds up. I mean, the acting is terrible.
Sure.
But the plot and the story and the script is, bam, it's good.
It is so good.
It's one of the best sci-fi
I say it every time.
Scripts ever written.
I say it every time, but it's the first movie that I saw a naked lady in when I was growing up.
Probably the same.
And my mom about flipped out, when we were watching it all together. And all of a sudden it just popped up that way. And she wanted to turn the whole thing off. And I was like, I bet you she's probably not like that the rest of the movie. Bet you she puts clothes on after that. I've seen it. She let me watch it a bunch of times after that, but it was a little risque for me as a kid.
Definitely.
But it's a wonderful movie when it comes to space bugs.
It's really, really cheesy, and the acting is terrible, but it's a really solid script. And
yeah.
I was amazed on rewatching it how good it actually is.
Well, they continued on with Stargate.
Or Starship Troopers?
Or, the Starship Troopers after that movie. I don't know if they created another, big budget movie, but I'm pretty sure there was a show.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think there was a show. There might have been more movies. I don't know.
I think there was a show.
It's a really interesting movie. It's a very different script, and I think it's really well done. Next one, we got to move through these a little faster. Silent Running from 1972. Never heard of it, so we'll skip that. Next one is a 2002 animated movie, Treasure Planet.
Don't know that one either.
Oh, yes, you have. You've seen Treasure Planet. It was a Disney movie.
I don't think I have.
It is the movie Treasure Island.
Okay.
Treasure Island, the classic movie, book. But it is set in the future in space.
Okay.
It was a Disney movie. Or I don't know if it was Disney or not. But anyway, we'll skip that
so
since you haven't seen it.
They've came out with a lot of Starship Trooper movies. There's 2, 3, 4.
It was a huge hit at the time. Next one on the list is one that is near and dear to my heart, and that is The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element is an amazing movie.
It is so good. It is so great. I don't know that it's similar to Dune, but it is a fun sci-fi.
Oh yeah, I am a meat popsicle.
Future movie. I love it. I was obsessed with what's her name? Mia Jovovich. After that movie.
That movie is so great.
Multipass.
Multipass. And my buddy Nate Pagoda, he's been on the show a few times. He has a picture. You can Google it, actually. You can Google, I am a meat popsicle. And you got to scroll down quite a ways now. It used to be up towards the top. But that's a quote from the movie. And he took a picture of himself, or I actually took the picture of him when he was frozen out on the dam. He had ice all over his beard and face and everything. And he posted that to Reddit, I believe, and it kind of, I wouldn't say went viral, but if you searched it, it would be in the top 5 images on Google. I thought that was kind of neat. Yeah. And that's the tie-in to The Fifth Element.
Next one on the list is The Last Starfighter. This was the Star Wars knockoff of Star Wars knockoffs. But I remember watching it as a kid, and I have memories.
This is an 80s movie, right?
Yeah, early 84.
Yeah, I know I've seen it. I know I've seen it. I just don't know who's in it or a lot of the plot.
Lance Guest. After finally achieving the high score on Starfighter, his favorite arcade game, everyday teenager Alex Rogan.
Has to actually do it then, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And he gets in a Starfighter.
Yeah.
A spaceship. It appears next to his house, I believe.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie, but whatever. Don't watch
It's a typical 80s movie. Yeah. It's fine.
Next one on the list is another movie I loved as a kid, Flash Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very dated.
Flash!
Ah!
Love it.
Here's another one I loved as a kid, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Absolutely. Beyond Thunderdome is...
Was it Tina Turner?
Yes, she was in it. And then the whole guy on his, I don't know, what was his name?
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
It's super something.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Yes, Beyond Thunderdome, great movie. Love them. I like all the Mad Maxes.
It's the cheesiest of all the Mad Max movies, but it also like has
It's just so fun.
beautiful 80s quality to it.
Yes.
Next movie on the list is one that's super near and dear to my heart. Saw it before I even knew that the show existed, and absolutely loved the movie for years before I even knew that there was a show. That's Serenity.
Oh, my God. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw that movie when it came out originally.
Well, I know, but I didn't know that
And it was years before I watched Firefly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow, yeah. Serenity, absolutely wonderful. But I came into it opposite than that. And
Yeah. We just talked about Firefly. It's one series that I will go back continually and watch.
It's wonderful.
And there's not a lot of shows I can say that about.
But there's only one season and I think 8 episodes.
Yeah, not very many.
So.
Next one on the list is Blade Runner 2049, directed by Dune director Denis Villeneuve. Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. This was a great movie. It was a really good movie.
Yes. It's visually appealing, long, but I think that's a theme for Denis. It's very good. Yeah, Ryan Gosling was good. Harrison Ford was good. I think it was great.
Yeah. Next one on the list is Star Wars.
Of course.
Any and all Star Wars. This will just transition us right into our review of Dune. There will be some spoilers later on. Nothing that I think is that important. We will try not to spoil the plot necessarily. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But it is very apparent, and this is a known fact, that George Lucas borrowed heavily from Dune when writing and conceiving of Star Wars.
But the more and more I see of Dune...
It's hard to just...
It's unbelievable.
A lot was lifted. George Lucas took a lot of liberties.
Of the exact same things, just changing their names.
Yeah.
You know, it's literally just changing a name to something different.
And not even necessarily changing the names that much.
No, really, yeah. It's not. It's... Dune had an effect on almost all space movies.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really did. I mean, that book... started it all. I mean, when did it come out? In the 50s?
Or
was it 60s?
In the 60s.
I didn't know if it was late 50s or early 60s. It might be like 64. Something like that.
Let me look.
Either way, long time ago, this book was...
1965.
65. It was published a really long time ago, right? So a lot of people got their hands on it.
Clearly,
read it.
There's 60s music might have played a part in the conceiving of Dune.
You think so? Why?
It's just kind of a trippy movie.
Or the story.
Yeah.
The story is hard to understand.
It's very
at first. There's just so much. There's so many different words that you've never read, and made up languages, and made up beings and people, and there's certain ways to pronounce it. And if you don't understand how to pronounce it, it's like, I don't know. I've pronounced most of the names wrong the entire time, 100%. And then we have the ability to Google things now, and I literally Googled on how to say some of the words, and Frank Herbert legitimately recorded himself saying the names of things, and released that with books.
Yeah.
That you could play, because he knew, obviously, right off the bat, that nobody's going to know how to say that.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the movie. When I discovered Dune, the book, probably in high school or maybe in college, I don't remember, a long time ago at this point, I didn't really know that much about it other than, like, this is a thing that nerds like.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. And I felt at that point like I was identifying more and more down that road. So I'm like, I really need to check this out. It's street cred, right? You got to read this.
Sure.
And it's one of those rare instances when you read something and it just
resonates with you.
It's so good. It's so good to exactly what I like. So I don't know. I'm sure there's people that would read it and be like, it's long, it's boring, it's just too much politics, There's too much of this, too much people thinking.
A lot of that.
But I don't know, for whatever reason, this captured my imagination completely. And, ever since then, I've just been, you'll go back after that and watch the 80s movie again that you briefly saw parts of when you were a kid. And you rewatch it and you're like, this isn't the same thing.
It's not the same thing, yeah.
No.
And it was a failure to translate what the book was. And I think they just kind of borrowed from the book.
That sci-fi series from the early 2000s, I thought did a pretty reasonably good job. It was very, very well done. But you always thought to yourself, like, this is what they need to make on a big scale, like a Star Wars scale.
They do. It blows my mind that it really hasn't been done. I mean, they tried a little bit here and a little bit there.
There's a documentary out. I think it's called Jaworski's Dune. They tried to do it in the 70s, right around when Star Wars came out. They tried to make the big budget.
Yeah.
It might have been even after Star Wars, but like in the late 70s. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, it failed. And they made a whole documentary about it. It just came out about that movie.
What's it on? I would love to.
Jodorowsky's Dune. Part thoughtful tribute, part bittersweet reminder of a missed opportunity. Jodorowsky's Dune offers a fascinating look at a lost sci-fi legend. Filmmaker Alejandro discusses how he would have adapted Frank Herbert's classic sci-fi novel Dune for the big screen, etc., etc. So it's your typical documentary type thing. But
I thought it was like a Chicagoan. Jim Jaworski. I believe that's one of the super fans.
Sausage?
One of the super fans from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I think it's something Jaworski. And yeah.
So when they announced this movie now, 2 years we've been talking about this, right?
We have.
It has been at the forefront of everything I've been looking forward to.
So are we getting into it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Initial reaction.
Initial reaction is like awe. It's just, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know it was going to be part 1 and part 2. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about how long it was, like the book wise anyways. It's like an 800-page book, but I mean, Harry Potter made each one of their books into single movies. I literally thought this was going to be a single movie. This is a part 1 of multiple movies. And even watching it, I didn't know it was the end. I thought they were like halfway through. I was just watching the story. The story that I've read and loved. I'm watching the story as it goes along, playing out, and thought they were going to just keep continuing on. And then it ends. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's over?
The first thing I said to Jerry when I walked out of it is, that was the fastest 2 hour and 45-minute movie I've ever sat through.
It's almost 3 hours long. And I didn't even know it was over an hour or an hour and a half. I really didn't. I was so immersed in the movie. Maybe it was because of the IMAX, like you had said, we sat relatively close to the screen and it kind of is around you then.
Yeah.
And
you definitely felt enveloped a bit in the experience that we were in, but also in the cinematography.
Yes. And maybe that was why.
Epic in scope, the cinematography.
But the way they tell the story and the tone of the movie, to me, was just absolutely captivating. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I definitely look forward to the next one. I need the next one in my life.
Yeah.
I need it. But as we found out on the way home, I looked it up. As of right now, Warner Brothers has not signed anything saying that they're going to make a second Dune. And most likely.
And this is a spoiler. This is a straight ending. So they never even finish or resolve almost anything.
No, it literally ends. It's like you picked up the book.
Mid-story, it ends.
Yeah, you pick up the book, and at page 325, you decide to set it down for a while.
Yeah.
You just put the bookmark in it, you finish whatever chapter you're on, put the bookmark in it and set the book down. You have nothing resolved. You have nothing. You're in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
And it ends in the middle of the story. there's a little bit of resolve, just a tiny bit, because they do achieve a goal of getting to the
They do, yes, a mini goal. But the interesting thing about this movie is that I don't know if it's a consequence of the tone of the movie, but it has a very specific style and tone. If you're familiar with Denis Villeneuve movies, so both Blade Runner and Arrival, he likes to set a tone, and you get very enveloped in that.
And like you had said, it's quiet.
It's quiet. It's foreboding, but there is a certain expense that comes of that, and that's like your direct feelings for the characters or your emotional involvement in the story. You a bit feel like you're sitting on the outside watching something play out in front of you that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily feel a part of it. So that could be a concern.
Okay, so I agree with you that this first movie is going to be that way. Whereas all of the main characters in this first movie with like Leto, Paul's dad.
Not Leto. Oscar Isaac.
I mean, that's his dad's name, though, is Leto.
Okay.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac plays his dad, but his name is
Jared Leto. Go ahead.
No, like Leto Atreides, yeah. He, like him and a few other people, what's the guy that trained him? Duncan, Idaho, like all of these people that are relatively big in the beginning of the book that I feel like you do get to know in the book. You don't get that in the movie. You don't get that.
You get strong character attachments in the book.
Yeah, absolutely, because of the like explanation that you're given, and you literally have whole chapters dedicated to these people that you're just following them along through Paul's story. And so you don't get it with those people, but I do think you will have it with Paul and his mom and the Fremen that he's going to be involved with.
I agree.
But that's going to be in the next movie.
Yeah, I know. It's not in this one. And they cover a lot of ground in not a way that feels rushed at all. Mm-mm. They do cover ground. They do omit a lot from the book as far as more detailed explanations. And so this was another point we brought up right away.
Yeah.
If you're not already familiar with the story or familiar with science fiction enough where you can mentally make the leaps that the story wants you to make,
yeah,
you're not led by hand. You have to take some responsibility to make these connections.
Yeah.
And so it could be very difficult for a non-sci-fi fan or a non-fan.
I don't know if this is pointed at anyone that hasn't read the book. I don't know if it's for you.
Yeah.
I don't say that to try to keep people from it. If you want to go watch this movie, go for it.
You don't have to have read the book, but you have to enjoy sci-fi.
You will. I feel like you would enjoy it, but yeah, if you're not a sci-fi person, but honestly, I do believe.
But this ain't Star Wars, which has mass appeal, right? Anybody can walk into a Star Wars movie, sit down and enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's very easy to figure out. There's a lot of nuance to Dune that you won't necessarily get without piecing it together in your own brain in this movie. You've got to do it on your own, just by subtle like images that they've given you. And you've got to basically figure it out.
You have to be able to look at the plot points and the characters and be like, oh, I recognize this archetype.
Yeah.
So I understand what the motivations are.
Yes.
And there's a lot of politics.
So there's houses.
And they don't cover it in the movie nearly like they do in the book. So that's good and bad because it's one of the better parts of the book. But at the same time, it's stuff that's really hard to watch in a movie. Mm-hmm. And so they brush that stuff off quickly, but in a way that's explanatory enough that you're able to make those leaps.
So at the end of the day, talking about like who it appeals to or who it doesn't, anybody that has read the book, I do believe it's a very good, if not perfect, adaptation of the book you've read in a form that will fit what you want. Because if he went about making the movie with all of the explanation that you get out of the book, you're going to have a 3-hour movie with half as much story covered than we got today.
Yeah.
So he covered enough story and got to a point in the book and a point that I remember, and and ended the movie at this point, and it made me feel good. You know, like I know it does end in the middle, and you don't get any payoff, but essentially you do get the payoff of what they're trying to do basically in the first act of the story, because that's all you're getting. You're getting like the first act of a story out of a 3-act arc. So I assume they're going to make 3 movies out of this.
Yeah, I would assume as well. I will say, I've heard some people say like, oh, okay, because they've heard that it's similar to Star Wars or Star Wars borrowed from it. Okay, so this is like a Star Wars type movie. And that was one thought I had, is that it is not similar to Star Wars as a movie. If anything, it's closer to like a Lord of the Rings in its feel, or something that's a little more epic in scope, like a Lord of the Rings that takes itself a little serious.
Yeah.
And there was another example I was going to give other than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there's not. This is a serious movie. It's a serious film.
It's artistic.
It's a serious book. It's not like Star Wars, and I don't want to say that Star Wars is cheesy or a comedy by any means, but
it's got broad appeal.
It has broad appeal compared to this does not. Yeah, Dune does not have broad appeal, I don't think, at all, because I don't think my wife could sit down and watch this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think she could. As someone that has never read the book, obviously, I think she would wonder more about what is that? Why is that so important? You know, why are they doing this? What's the hooks? Why do you hold up hooks? I don't get why they, like so many different questions that they would have need to be explained. I think it'd be really hard if you haven't read the source material.
I thought the other movie. So Lord of the Rings. Okay, I feel like that's a similar, or
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Avatar.
Oh, okay.
Has a bit of an Avatar type feel to it, but with a more artistic tone than any of those movies. Like they're trying to make an artistically, brilliantly looking, interesting, epic looking movie, and they do it so well. The cinematography is amazing. It's
a very
beautiful
clean
movie.
It's just such a clean picture. Every frame of the movie is structured to be,
and a lot of dark, like it's
perfect.
A lot of the art direction was phenomenal. So if you appreciate that aspect of it, and definitely see it in theaters, we've talked about it. We said at the beginning, this is a theater movie.
It is.
I don't think you'll get the same experience at home.
No, you really won't.
It's so epic, and one of the big parts of that is the soundtrack.
Yeah,
is incredible.
It's unreal. I think the sound of the movie is unreal. Like just
there's an Academy Award in the future.
Just the sound of the movie. So, and the reason I say that is because there's not a lot of background music or noise or anything going on. It's relatively quiet, and there are certain points that get loud, and there is music involved, obviously, but I don't know, the way they make it quiet, and the whole tone of the movie's like following this quiet thing, and then a big war breaks out and it gets loud, or a very dramatic, tense scene might get loud, but only for brief moments. Yeah. And I think it drives the intensity of what's happening.
They utilize silence very well in it.
It's so good.
It's very foreboding in its score. Hans Zimmer was the music composer.
Of course he was.
And
does he do every movie?
And he specifically used, he did an orchestral score of a Pink Floyd song.
He did?
For one of the main songs. You probably didn't even catch it.
I didn't.
Originally, the 70s movie that we were talking about that didn't get made, Pink Floyd was to do the score of that movie. So as an homage to that,
oh my gosh,
he used the main song from that supposed movie, which is a Pink Floyd cover, for this in an orchestral setting.
What is it? How did you know that?
I looked it up.
You just randomly looked up Pink Floyd and Dune?
Pink Floyd cover in Dune trailers worked out over FaceTime by composer Hans Zimmer. Eclipse from Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon. It's the beginning of it.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I just stumbled upon an article about it. I didn't know that when I was like, I didn't hear it and think that.
Yeah.
But I did think throughout that entire movie what a phenomenal job at scoring that movie, and then also using like very interesting sound effects all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say how much I love this movie, and the main reason I like this movie is because you sit there for 3 hours and you feel like you're just getting started, and you're like, what are you stopping now?
I know. It blew me away that it ended. It really did. And you're the one who had said that, like, they go through 3 hours really fast. It's unbelievable how fast that went.
Yeah.
I don't get it. When you talk about like escapism and loving to go to the movies or whatever it is that you love to do to escape, and be like in your own element or your own, like have your own moment. This was the ultimate of that, I think.
And we've talked about this before. Liking to be in movies where the entire outside world and all concerns cease to exist. And
everything.
It happened in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yes.
Some other movies we've talked about in the past. Definitely got that feeling here. You're very involved in the story. Now, we sat very close to an IMAX screen.
Right.
So it did surround us a bit. I would recommend that experience for this movie for sure.
I would, for sure. Yes.
I think it's, your standard size screen. I just don't know if it's going to do it enough
I don't know if it would either.
justice.
And like I said on the way home, I don't normally have that. I don't normally have the screen size effect movies for me. But I think in order to get the scope of where you're at and what they're dealing with and learning about the planet, because that's the whole thing. Like, this family leaves their home world and they go to this whole completely different planet of Arrakis. And Arrakis is its own thing. It's like a living being, like this world, right? And the desert. And I think you need that scope of how big and vast this desert experience is.
Yeah. There's no doubt.
And I think it does that.
The book does it, and this movie does it. The
Yeah.
main character of the book and the main character of this movie is the desert.
Is the desert. Is Arrakis. It's the planet.
And it's very similar to Avatar, how that is a similar thing as Pandora.
Yeah.
So it's just opposite side of the equation. Obviously, it's a desert, but it's a living entity, essentially.
I saw a funny TikTok, actually, of a guy. He's like, hey, Dune just came out. He's like holding his phone up above him. He's like, Dune just came out. I thought I'd cosplay. And he's wearing like this tan shirt. And he's kind of a really chubby guy. He's like, I'm cosplaying as the Dune. He's like, hopefully that's a main character or something. Or he said, I hope they have a big part. And then it just ended. But I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. No, it is a big part of the movie. So the visuals are a huge part of this movie. So watching it at home, that's fine, but make sure you have a big-ass TV.
You know what surprised me the most, honestly, is that because I didn't know how the movie was going to be formatted and like done, what the storyline was going to be, like how it was, spread out so far rather than crunched down, is that Zendaya, I'm pretty sure she says about 4 words, maybe 5 words in the entire movie.
Small part, but we'll have a big part to come.
She will have a big part to come, but it just surprised me because she was pushed as this huge main character with Timothy Chalamet or Chalamet. Chalamet. I don't know how to say those fancy names, but obviously he is, as Paul Atreides, he's the main character, but she was always right beside him in everything you ever saw about Dune. But to be honest, it's just a little glimpse of her through dreams. And then she says 4 or 5 words and the movie's over.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
Yeah, the acting in general was phenomenal across the board. There was a big plus of this movie. Everyone from Timothy Chalamet, who I thought did a great job. And, one of the attractive things about this movie is you don't have to, they don't quite capture the essence of his confusion. Because the book, there's very much like everything about this whole experience is confusing to him. In the movie, they make him a very confident main character, and I think that's a good thing.
They do up until the point where they're out in the desert. Finally, like him and his mom.
But even still, he's taking charge. He's a leader. He's capable.
He is, but he does have that breakdown moment of like, of somewhat panic. Like he's sad. I don't want to say too much. Like, he's sad. He's panicked of the future. He's having visions that he doesn't know what's going on. He's there with his mom. He blames her all of a sudden out of nowhere because all of this stuff is pressing down at him. and he is confused, and that's where
it
he
is
gets
her fault. I mean, it was designed. It
absolutely,
was all designed.
yeah, and
she is great in it, by the way. Phenomenal.
yes,
His mom.
Paul's mom, or Timothy Chalamet's mom, Jessica. I don't know what's her name in real life. You looked it up.
I don't remember.
She reminds me of a Jessica Chastain,
Kind of.
like looks like her a little
Or
bit.
an Amy Adams, kind of.
Very similar in features for all three of those people. And
Oscar Isaac. No?
no, she looks nothing like Oscar.
Oh, I thought you were
Oscar
going to say,
Isaac.
and you also liked Oscar Isaac. 'Cause he
No,
was
I
great.
was gonna say, what's Opie's name in real life? Opie,
No.
Opie from the Andy Griffith Show.
Ron Howard?
Yeah, Ron Howard, his daughter,
Oh, yeah.
Dallas something, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
They're all like the same people to me. all four of those people look the same. She's a wonderful actress. The one that's in Dune, I thought she did phenomenal in every aspect of what she was doing, because a lot of her acting is, I think, the most difficult. Like Paul's the main character, and Timothy Chalamet does that really well. But she has a lot of like deep, like emotional scenes because of everything that's going on around her and what she's been doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an overly emotional movie.
No.
say
But,
but
just the scenes that she has, there is a lot of emotion for her at that moment about what's going on around her. None of the other characters are having that emotion. It's just her as a mom and
yeah,
being part of the Bene Gesserit
it's
society.
Gonna be real. It just makes me think. The more and more you say things like that, how difficult this movie must be to understand for somebody that doesn't have a cursory knowledge of the book.
I know.
Because there is chapters on the Bene Gesserit. There is chapters on these houses and their political affiliations, and they do a good job of, I think, making it, but they gloss over so much. It's fine. It needs to be glossed over, but it makes it harder for a newcomer.
You would not know anything
Yeah, it would be difficult.
about anything.
Yeah.
I just,
You might not need it, though.
so maybe you don't. So maybe you come in, you've never read the book at all, and you come in, you watch the movie, and you get only what you need.
Yeah.
You know about
You get
small
a Messiah
portions.
story.
It's
I mean,
like
essentially.
that's exactly what it is. You get like the what's it called when you shoot, I can never remember anything. Like when you went to like this one little website or read the back of a book.
Good summary.
Yeah, but what's that called? There's something notes.
Cliff notes.
Cliff notes. You got like a Cliff Notes version of the book.
Yeah.
And that's not a negative to the movie because I absolutely love it. But it really is a Cliff Notes version of each individual like section of this movie. Like between all of the different houses and the Bene Gesserit and all of that kind of stuff. Like
because they don't even really explain that these houses are all different houses and there's an empire and there's an emperor. I mean, they do and they don't. So anyway, long story short, I really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next one. I cannot believe that it's not coming out like next week.
I know.
That is so disappointing that we got to wait now probably 2 years.
I really think they dropped the ball on this.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like they thought, okay, this is a huge risk, so we just want to throw one out there.
I think
But then they made a story that requires 2 parts for sure, minimum.
Executives of Warner Brothers had to have seen this movie and been like, okay, it's worth another. Like, it's almost guaranteed at this point that you're going to break even at least, and we'll do a number 2. But maybe I'm going to blame COVID because they probably thought we can't release this in theaters. We're not going to be allowed to.
Because this was supposed to come out last fall, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
So it got pushed an entire year. The fact that they didn't film the next movie over the course of this year isn't mind-blowing to me.
But I'm thinking that's why, because they spent so much money on the first one and then didn't get to release it and then thought maybe we aren't going to release this in theaters anymore and it's only going to be on HBO Max. You're certainly not going to make the money back. You're not going to. I mean, that is a loss. So therefore, making a sequel to that, I can understand where it doesn't make much sense.
With the uncertainty, yeah.
With the uncertainty, but at the beginning of this last year...
Just because they just haven't started filming it. There's a lot that needs to happen before filming that's probably been done. The writing,
it better
the pre-production is probably all done. They're probably just waiting for the go to start filming
and then they film it,
and
production
they could
starts.
potentially have it out by next fall.
They could take, I mean, at the longest, 6 months to film.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's most likely shorter than that.
Probably.
For filming wise, and then editing is where it takes quite a while. Yeah, so honestly, end of next year, I bet you they could have one out.
For sure. If they want
End of 2022,
if
they could have
makes
another
enough
one out.
money. I hope it does.
I guarantee you we're not going to see anything until June of 2023.
Yeah.
Something like that. If not fall.
Could be. Well, anyway, so check it out for sure. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, if you're a sci-fi fan.
If you're not a sci-fi fan and not familiar with the book, I still think it's worth the watch.
That's what I was just going to say. If you're a sci-fi fan, if you've read the book, absolutely go see it. If you're not either one of those things, man, I still think there's something there for you.
Yeah.
Because this movie, although it is sci-fi, it's different. I think it just hits different. It looks different. I think it's something you can enjoy.
As a movie from the technical aspects of movie making, it's worth it on that alone.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. It's made me so happy today.
Yeah.
It really has. And I'm going to watch it again at home on my...
I'm probably going to watch it tomorrow.
No joke. That's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to watch it on my TV at home because I want to have that feeling again.
Yeah.
And I want to see what it looks like on my TV at home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to see what... The feeling's obviously not going to be the same, but I don't know. I need to see it at home.
I agree. All right, so that's all we got on that. You want to get into what we're watching? Where are we at on time?
Yeah, we're at an hour and 32 minutes.
Oh, perfect. So I got just really two things. I got three, but one's real quick. Seinfeld. I've been watching
Yes.
a lot of Seinfeld.
Absolutely.
It's become my new go-to. Like, I'm going to bed.
Put on some Seinfeld.
Put on some Seinfeld. Listen to it.
One of the best days of my life is finding out that Seinfeld was coming to Netflix.
Yeah, it was huge.
I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. I've watched so many Seinfeld episodes since it's been on Netflix because it is my single favorite show. I go back into like episode 10 and you'll hear me talk about Seinfeld as my number one sitcom of all time.
It's so good. I love it. And I just started like on the last season because I'm like, I don't really remember, but it's amazing. You can't,
Dude.
It's hard to find an episode that you don't know like frontwards and back.
Any of these people that tell me it just doesn't make sense. Seinfeld doesn't make sense to me. Your entire life doesn't make sense then because it is obviously they live in New York and it's a little different scenario than the Midwest, but it's a day in the life of these people. Like, that's all it is. Yes, it gets goofy.
Oh, it's so goofy.
But don't tell me you don't get it. They're just living their life and having encounters with other people that are goofy and funny.
Yeah.
And if you can't like that, you're dead inside.
Yeah. I agree. I love it. I'm liking rewatching it a lot. But I'm not like making it a huge priority. It's usually if I can't find anything else at the end of the night. But I love it.
I've walked through every season of Seinfeld so many times, I think.
Really?
That, oh my gosh, yes. That's all. I forced Amy to watch the entire series when we first moved into our house in 2008 in Mazan. Bought a house. We moved in. We had nothing. Literally, I had no furniture, didn't have a table, didn't have chairs. The only thing we had was a fold-out couch that I got from my grandma, and a stand for a TV and a DVD player. I didn't have any TV or anything, so we just played. I had the entire series of Seinfeld on DVD, so that's all we watched was Seinfeld, and I forced her to watch it, and she's been in love ever since. With me and Seinfeld.
She will never forgive you for it.
Well, right.
The other thing that I started watching is the hottest show that exists right now. That is
a Love Circle.
No.
On Netflix.
It's called Squid Game. We've talked about it over the last couple of weeks. It's blowing up. So I'm like, I got to get on the train. So I convinced Marley even to watch it with me. Mm-hmm. And I will say I probably watched 4 episodes. I believe I watched 4 episodes. I'm not sure where I'm at on this show right now, but one thing I'm sure of is that I don't get all the hype.
Okay.
It is interesting, different, visually interesting enough, and intriguing enough in the story that I probably will continue the rest of the season.
The premise of it is good.
The premise is interesting. The acting is horrendous. The dubbing is pretty bad too. Although I get used to it, I can get past the dubbing.
I don't know if I wanna
after
do
one
that.
episode, you can get past it. The acting on top of that is still really, really, really over the top. It is very gory, extremely gory, disturbingly gory at times. With just not that you haven't seen things like it, but with just the casual nature of the gore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is shocking at some points. I'm interested enough to see where it goes for sure. So I could totally understand getting hooked on it, but overall, I would say that this is an overhyped dud.
Yeah.
And
I don't want it.
they're seeding
I'm sorry.
some smaller storylines that I think might pay off later. But ultimately, you're watching it for the shock value, and that's really
what
the
it is,
only
right?
reason people are watching it. I think.
It's a shock value thing, and I don't need that. I think there is so much better content out there than watching this type of stuff.
I am interested to see what the backstory of it is, who runs the game, how it came to be.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think you're wasting your life.
It
Okay.
could be. And I kind of have switched out of watching it anyway because of what we'll talk about later.
I bet you don't finish it.
I probably won't.
Yeah, I bet you don't.
Probably won't at this
From the
point.
sound of it, I don't think it's worth finishing,
So
and I don't think you will.
I think I watched 3 episodes. I will say the 3rd episode by far has been the best one. So we'll see. Maybe it gets better. You got to give it 4, right?
You do.
I'll give it 4. Give it 1 more.
Well, I mean, I think you got to do half the season.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably 8 episodes. I don't know.
If there's 10, you got to watch 5.
Okay.
If there's
I'll give it that.
9 or 8, you got to watch at least 4.
I'm not necessarily needing any of it, but definitely not recommending it.
There's always a change around the half.
I've heard the end of the series is much, much, much better. I've heard that from.
All right, then I mean, since you put the time in, you might as well finish it. I don't think you will, but I think you should.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I'm going to say on that.
You got anything? What you're watching?
I mean, obviously, there's a new season of Survivor, so I've been watching that
yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
I watch that every single week. I love it. It hasn't changed at all. That's why I like it. It's super fun. And then only besides Dune, there's only one other thing I've been watching.
And same here, and that is the completely out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, I haven't been on. To be honest, I haven't been on Netflix in a long time, and haven't really watched much besides Seinfeld. But I haven't been on there in weeks, really. And I just randomly turned on Netflix the other night, and all of a sudden it says Lock and Key Season 2
Yeah.
ready to stream. Like, it's up front on the banner, and I was like, holy crap, is this out? Like, is this real, or is this just like a teaser thing? So I click on it. No, it's ready and waiting right there, ready to go. And so I immediately started it. That was, what night was that? Friday night? So Friday night after the baseball game is when it was. Yes. And I immediately watched 5 episodes in a row. I stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning. Absolute mistake. But I did. I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning, watched 5 episodes straight. And then Saturday night, I watched 3 more. I watched 6, 7, and 8. I'm kind of obsessed with the season 2,
Yeah.
man.
So we did similar. We watched the first one. I watched the first one. I just started. I didn't remember that Marley had watched the first season with me.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So we
either.
were sitting in the living room, and I just started playing it. And I probably watched 1.5 episodes maybe, and I guess I must have fallen asleep. So the next night I went to start it, and I started episode 2 over again. She's like, "Well, I already watched half this." I'm like, "You were watching this?" She goes, "Yeah, it's awesome." So we therefore spent like the rest of the day like doing laundry in a room basically, and watched I think 4 or 5 episodes straight. So I'm maybe 5 or 6 episodes in.
Oh man, big changes happen at like 6 and 7.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So obviously, backstory, me and Jerry have talked about the comic Lock and Key by Joe Hill, who's Stephen King's son. We've talked
Yes.
about it many times. It was near the top of both of our lists for best comics for new readers and one of our favorite comic series of all time. So after season 1, which was like 2 years ago, I feel
It was fall of 2019.
Yeah, we talked about it at length. And I didn't remember a lot of season 1. The show departs from the comic pretty significantly in a lot of ways in season 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very different thing than the comic completely. Basically, they're very different tonally.
Yeah, tonally
The
it
story
is different.
changes quite a bit. And also, but after season 1, I think, I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned that I actually preferred the show to the book.
I didn't agree with you at that point. But this season, I think I do. I think I agree with you. I do enjoy it a lot. And I think season 2 picked up a little bit more of the horror side of things. I mean, it's still very dumbed down, like toned down from what the comic book is.
It's almost able to watch it with your kids, but just not quite.
Not quite. I don't think
the book is not for kids.
Season 2, I think is more horror-ish than what season 1 was by far.
I don't know. They both definitely have that aspect.
I think they both have that aspect. I don't know. I feel like season 2's had a lot of things I didn't expect, or that I forgot that season 1 had. I guess I don't know, but it is a show that is a teen show. Like it's kind of teeny, I think.
I don't know what to characterize it as far as that goes. I guess maybe, but it's
Obviously,
definitely made for adults too.
Yeah, there's
It's
adult
not like
content
it's not
to
like
it,
a WB show or anything.
but it's an adult or it's a teen drama.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
the
it's
main
like-
characters are kids.
Yeah, they're kids, and I can understand that kids would like it. You know, like teens, upper teens, though. You'd have to be a little bit older. Anyway, I think they're doing a wonderful job. I love the characters. I really do. I think they've done a great job of making you want to know more about the characters and the characters being likable.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Even the bad guys, you know, like you know who the bad guy is. You know what character he is, but his name's Gabe. So Gabe as a boyfriend, I thought was like a good guy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course you'd want him around. But every time he was around and they're showing him new things about keys in the house and things that are going on, I'm like, man, what a mistake. Like, what a mistake you're making, even though you don't know you're making that mistake. It's just fun. Like, I want to know what ends up happening. Like, they've built the story up so well.
And that's how the book was too. It's a great mystery, and it's such a great concept.
Yeah.
That is so fantastical and fun. That the book gets a little darker at times. That was one of my complaints about the show versus the book. The lack of varying different kinds of keys. They do introduce some new ones in season 2, but in season 1, they basically only have a very small amount of keys.
Yeah, there's basically... Yeah, there's not very many in season 1, but season 2 automatically starts out as like, yeah, we have this key, we have this key. They're interchanging them. You know, they've got a lot more now, like quite a few more. And they keep finding them throughout the
I always felt that
episodes.
about the book and the show. I'm like, they should make this so much more.
Yeah.
It could be a nonstop book of all these different keys and constantly finding new keys and doing and fighting new foes with them.
I know, but at that point it would be too involved with
Maybe.
keys. Like, how hard of a story would that be to write? You know what I mean? Because you have so many different keys that you keep putting in front of all of these characters and then trying to make a cohesive story and wrap it all together. I mean, it would be like a villain of the week or a monster of the week type show.
Yeah, it would be
at that point, and it'd be hard to do.
Yeah. Well, in any case, it's a really fun, fantastical show that is very much in that vein of, I would say, like a Sweet Tooth, although it's not as good as that, but
I think it is. I do. I do think
it's
it is.
compelling for sure. I don't think it's as big.
It's not as big, but it could be. I think it could be. I don't know. I didn't expect to love this season as much as I have. And
I think
I
it's
saw
better
that.
than the first season.
Yes. I saw the banner for season 2, and I was like, oh man, Lock and Key. I've been waiting for this for a while. But then I had the feeling of, I haven't seen the first season in a long time.
Well, I do like they jump you right into the story.
And I didn't necessarily like have that super excitement. But then once I started the first episode, and you're jumped right back into the story, it jogged my memory right away. I started remembering everything from season 1 throughout the episodes, and it's blown me away. I've been immersed into it, and I can't stop watching it.
Yeah.
And now we got to end because I want to go watch the last couple episodes.
I want to watch it, but I've been watching it with Marley, so she's going to be asleep when I get home, so I can't watch it.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. That's
It's
a
too
big
bad.
problem.
This is why you don't watch things with your wife.
I know.
You need to just cut her out of the equation.
Well, most of the time I do, so when we find something we can watch together.
Yes. Most of the time Amy doesn't want to watch what I'm watching, but I really do think she would like Lock and Key. I told her that.
I don't think anybody could dislike Lock and Key.
I know.
The comic or the show.
So Friday, she was watching some of the episodes, or was glancing at what I was watching, and then ended up going to bed because we got home pretty late from baseball and whatnot. So she went to bed, but she saw what I was watching, and she's like, huh, that looks kind of interesting. I was like, Amy, I think you're going to like this. Like, I really do think you need to watch season 1 and then watch this. She gets mad because there's only 2 seasons, and there's only 8 episodes in the first season and 10 episodes. And she's like, well, and then I just have to wait for more.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's how that works. She's like, oh, so like The Witcher, I've got to wait for that. She's like, and The Last Kingdom, we're still waiting on that. Yeah. And I said, so are you...
COVID.
So you're literally saying, like, you don't want to watch any series anymore until it's absolutely done and finalized? She said, yes. That's exactly what I'm saying. Well, that's a terrible existence because you got to watch some TV, man.
Yeah, no, I think it's great so far. I can't recommend it enough. I really enjoy it. And again, I still maintain I think the show, to me, is better than the book. And I will say it's 100% has to do with the more light-hearted nature and tone of the show.
I think the characters are more likable in the show than they are in the comic book.
Well, for sure the mom is.
Oh, absolutely.
She's not likable in either, really, but still.
I don't think she's that bad in the
she's
show
not
because what I noticed in season 2 is that she's very distant from the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Completely. The way they play that off, though, is because of the magic part, and once you reach adulthood, you don't see the magic anymore. And that's how they play it off, because she's just so oblivious to what's happening all the time that she's doing her own thing and the kids are doing their own thing, and they can get away with it because she doesn't know. Like, she can't physically comprehend what they're doing. So that makes that easier to digest, but I don't necessarily like that. I feel like she needs to be more apparent.
Yeah.
You know, like in the show. I don't necessarily like her as a character, but I don't know. It feels weird that she just bounces in and out of the house.
Yeah,
and isn't around.
Yeah, it's like these kids are very much just on their own.
And she doesn't have a job.
Yeah, she does. She's restoring that theater.
That's right. Okay, so she does have a job. Good. Okay, that makes me feel better. I don't know. She bounces in and out of the storyline so much that it's kind of weird. And now she's got the whole fling thing with a guy that I feel like something's going on there.
But I think they might want you to think that.
Yeah, I think so too. I've only got 2 episodes left.
Is that character in the book?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't know. You're going to watch this, and it's going to make you want to have a beautiful old Victorian mansion in the countryside with magical keys and doorways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I started creating keys last night, actually. So we'll see if they have any magic.
Really weird? Something crazy that happened?
I absolutely want to.
We're in the middle of watching this show in our bedroom, and Jet walks in.
With a key.
Holding an old antique key.
Are you
like
kidding
one of those
me?
old loop on the one side, straight with the straight bars on the other side. And he goes, "Look, I found this key. I swear on my life, Jerry, this happened."
Are you kidding me?
And it's just a little one. It was for like a jewelry box or something like that, but it was an antique key. And he walks in holding his keys, like, look what I found on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
I
And you're like, what does this mean?
I didn't even process
Is it
how
a-
crazy that was until I just told you that story. But
Is it a mind key?
Insane, right?
Is it a mind key? Is it a whatever? Like,
I'm just like, go put that in your piggy bank. I don't know what to think about this right now.
at the moment, you're just like, please stop bothering me. I'm watching a show.
And
but
then
now,
right after that, I was cleaning
you
out
need to
my
find
closet.
that key.
I
You
was
need to find
cleaning
the
out my
key.
closet. In the bottom of my closet on the ground, I found a 1930 coin
Okay.
in all Latin. It's called 1 florin.
Okay.
It's from 1930.
Why do you have that?
I don't know, Jerry. I don't know where this coin is from, what it's about, but I found this old antique coin, and Jet found an old antique key.
At the same time, there's somebody that is traveling through your house.
Or trolling me.
We're trolling you at the same time. Marley's doing it secretly.
don't
She's
know.
buying old antique things on eBay, and she's just gonna drop them around the house as this show continues.
So I find this coin, and I'm like, where did this coin come from? I'm asking Marley. She's like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm like, this has got to be worth some money. It's cool looking. Looked it up. They're all over eBay for like $120 for this one coin.
$120 for a coin?
Yeah, that's
Sell
what they're
that.
selling them for. But then I looked at the completed sales, and they're all like $4.
Yeah. Okay.
Still.
Well, that makes sense.
Anyway, so Lock and Key. That's all I got.
That's all I got as well. Lock and Key's very good. I would suggest watching it. Dune, very good. I would suggest watching it. Obviously, you need to watch Survivor. And, yeah,
Pass on Squid Game.
and pass on Squid Game. Okay.
That's all we got this week. Check out patreon.com/snarfcomics to support the show. Or check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere at Snarf Comics or Snarf Talk, one or the other.
And download the podcast.
Download the podcast, yeah.
We're an audio podcast as well. So get on any platform that you download podcasts on, or if you don't download podcasts, you can do it on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, Downcast, Spotify, Google Play, all of YouTube, like literally everywhere that a podcast is available, you can find Snarf Talk. So download us.
Yeah. For Snarf Talk this week, I've been Chris.
I am Jerry.
See ya.